we mourn, and we still do. I mean, from finding out the news yesterday till today, a lot of us are still thinking about him and thinking about how um, we're missing out maybe on some of what he could have given us, what he had left to give us. But we are thankful for so many memories, and that's why I brought in, of course, our Laulauhead to get us started in remembering our Colt Brennan. You probably see Laulauhead already all plastered all over TV already, but that's for a good reason. He's been a fan for so long, and he has seen the triumphs, the defeats, the in-betweens, and he has remained faithful. And Colt Brennan is one of those figures for all UH faithful that he'll always be a legend to us, and now he is immortalized. But Brother Shane, welcome to the show.
Hey, aloha, brother Wayne. Thanks for having me, my man.
What was your initial thoughts when you found out about Colt's passing?
Oh, well, what a way to wake up in the morning, man. Because we were talking about it earlier that morning, and I don't, I kind of sleep in. I'm not a morning person. So the first thing I usually do is turn on my work phone because my personal phone's on this do not disturb mode. I turn on my work phone, and then all of a sudden my work phone is going crazy with these notification noises. Ding, 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 ding. I was like, what the heck? I was like, oh no, what's happening? What's happening at work? Another change, or what is wrong? Something, my shift is changing, or and then it was just all my coworkers saying, hey, go print at this, go print at that. I was like, what the heck? And like we're talking about roller coaster rides, from
Mm-hmm.
that national championship Saturday to losing your hero a couple days later. It's like, whoa, what kind of craziness is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty nerve wracking to say the least.
When you think about um, Colt's career and his the memories that of him wearing the uniform and being on the field, what stands out to you the most about his career for you?
Oh, what stands out most about his career? Well, we all know the stats.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that he took us to the promised land. And like how you mentioned before, I've been a fan since I was 7 years old. I've seen the Jeff Duvas. I've seen the Gary Allens, the Nico Nogas,
Mm-hmm.
the Walter Marys. We had so many stars, Chad Owens, Peace Noisimo, but Colt Brennan
Yeah.
he's the one that led us to the promised land. He changed the landscape of the program forever.
Yeah.
And that's why he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. And although he's been through recent struggles, I don't see him in that light. He's my hero. He brought so
Exactly.
much joy to me. He brought so much excitement. He brought the state together. During the years he was here, I've never seen so many people wearing UH shirts, showing so
Yeah.
much pride for the programs, going to the games. It's like, oh, the only bad thing about the popularity of Colt was during the tailgates. If you had to go make shishi, the line for the porta potties was like 50 people long. You had to
Yeah.
strategically plan your piss.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was crazy.
That's right. I mean, we take for granted now, I guess, the fact that we can easily get go make shishi or like during
Yeah, exactly.
timeouts. Not even like between halftime or something. Like just timeouts can just run out and
Uh-huh.
be like, oh, that was quite easy to get through
Uh-huh.
that mess. But nonetheless, we are in this time too where a Rainbow Warrior program is experiencing, at least the football team, some shifts and some good shifts. Obviously, Coach Graham playing upon the success that he had last year. But when you look at that era, and it's just could be me, but it seems like when I go back and look at tapes and stuff and the crowd, I'm like, hey, where are these people stay now? You know what I mean? So what do we do? I don't know. Is it just me? Because I don't think it's just me, because I think the numbers don't lie either.
Hmm.
But Colt had a way of igniting the crowd. And we might have some players on the team now that can do that same thing. But what important and how important do you think it is that uh, we look at the critical mass of the fan base and just say, like, where do we start to? Where are we in emergency mode already? You know what I mean? Crisis.
Yo, yeah, most definitely. Well, I mean, and we talked about it in the past about how
Oh,
um, the games that we're going. Oh,
sorry,
reason.
sorry. No, you're good. You're good.
That's
My
right.
bad.
The the games that we're recently had, like that San Diego State game where we're playing for a chance to go to the Mountain West Championship game, but we had like 20,000 fans, and so we've been in big games, but I guess the popularity of Colt and this the way we were ranked and then every game was on the line.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what intrigued the fan base. And I guess being in a stadium where there's 40,000 fans, it's a lot more fun. The experience is more enjoyable when there's only like 15,000 and the stadium looks kind of dead.
Social distancing.
But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, exactly. And now, like how you say emergency mode, like everybody keeps asking me, hey, so what? Hey, going to the game? You're going to the game? It's like, I don't know if the TC chain going to be finished on time. I don't know if they're going to allow fans. I don't know if I'm going to be in the cut to get a ticket. I don't know. I just hope that they figure out something soon, or at least announce to us fans and season ticket holders what the plan is, because I don't know. But I'm there. I'm there no matter what. I'm there if I have to sit on that hill. You know how the people were sitting on the hill to watch the baseball game. I just want to see
That's
live
true. You got to
sports,
do
man.
whatever
I
you can
just want
do.
to see. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, now that we are, I'm sorry, my mic was kind of low. Mahalo, Justin, for that. Now that we are kind of getting to a point where, in terms of the entire program, it's like I feel like we're getting some momentum, and it was so exciting. I just came back from Ohio myself and had a great time there. Obviously, just being there to see a national championship was amazing, but
Hmm.
it's hard to even think about that now. Honestly, everything is kind of a blur right now. But when you think about just the highs and the lows of this program, where do you set like what does this Colts passing kind of do to the program, or how can it inspire us maybe?
Well, I don't like. Well, hats off to the men's volleyball team. I mean, bringing home that national championship. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that was amazing, and that to see that drive-through parade thingy, and then the turnout for their trolley parade that they're having today. It's awesome,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope the other programs. I'm sure it's motivating them to reach that pinnacle, because imagine if the football team had won a championship like
Oh
that.
yeah, for
Oh my
sure.
good.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh, definitely.
I mean, volleyball is no small. A volleyball championship is no small task, but we all know football is
Of
the
course.
money
Of
maker or
course.
the
Of course.
program driver, right? So,
Well, the thing that's funny now,
um,
it's like with the new stadium, volleyball potentially has a chance to have more fans, even average higher
exactly,
attendance, just because the football stadium is
exactly.
probably only going to be about 9,000. So it's going to be
Hmm.
interesting to see how these changes affect the future of the program. But what are some other special memories? I know Colt was really important to you. You're wearing the number 15 shirt. You have the most incredible, or you're up there with the most incredible array of UH paraphernalia of any fan out there. And you even make some of your own and gifted me some before, so thank you for that. But
Hey.
Colt must have been really important because you still have kept a lot of the stuff from when he was playing, which is now like 15 years ago already.
Oh yeah. And then like my prized possession is, well, of course I got my personalized little, oh, how do I do this?
Yep. Oh
uh,
wow, that's cool.
says touche, right?
Wow, that is
But then
nice.
my prize possession is this, it's a game worn, helmet, and I
Wow.
pimped it out. I pimped it out Colt
Wow.
Brennan style, yeah. With the little, with you
Wait,
know
was
how
that his
he had
helmet?
his little mask. No, no, it's actually a game worn.
Okay.
What is the damn camera on here? Game worn helmet, but by a UH player. I don't know who it was, but then I ended up buying all the stickers and stuff to pimp it out to make it like his 15
I
with
love it. That's what I think about. When I asked like, what comes to mind when you think about Colt? It's those stickers on the helmet and how he's like that helmet is just
yeah.
being flung around the field, and that's kind of the image I have. I think if anything is made in his honor, any kind of official image like his Jumpman logo or something, it would have to include like
Uh-huh.
that helmet, just because he looked like a astronaut or something, like a guy from the
Exactly.
future out there with that helmet on, and I thought that was
He
pretty cool.
looks he looks super cool. Like I don't know if he was the one that started that, that Oakley
Hmm.
face shield, and just the way he would come out that all white with his sleeves. But he had so much swag, that
Yeah,
guy.
he
It's
had a
like,
lot of swag
that's
for
like,
sure.
yo,
For
I was like,
sure.
this guy is too much.
Yeah.
And
Keone says cleanest
and this,
quarterback with a visor. So the visor too, yeah, that added to it a lot.
yeah, it's like so sick. And then he had that, that's why I even bought he had that, the chin strap, the thick
Yep.
chin strap
Yep.
thing. And it's
Yep.
like, oh, this guy, bro, so awesome. And that's why listening to all these friends and former players and coaches talk about him, they mention his charisma. Yeah, he had
Yep.
so much charisma. He knew how to
He
gel with
did.
his teammates,
He
like
did.
how
Of
I posted
course.
that video about how he took Samoan classes just so
Yep.
that he could gel with his offensive line, call audibles to his offensive
Yep.
line. And that guy, he was not only talented on the field, but he knew how to use his talents to help the team be successful.
Yep.
Obviously,
Of course. Yeah.
yeah.
I think you said it right.
And,
I mean, he knew how to use his allure to bring recognition to our program,
mm-hmm.
to bring awareness to the lacking of in some of the accommodations for the players. Well, some schools like Oregon, yeah, you can have like underwater treadmills and stuff. It's like crazy. And then over here, we barely get treadmills, like the kind above outside of water kind. So,
yeah.
that's the discrepancies. But he chose that. Obviously, leaving Colorado and coming out of Saddleback, life could have gone a lot of different ways for Colt. But I was really impressed with when he came and how much maturity he showed in leading us and
Mm-hmm.
becoming our captain. But I know you got to get going. So what is one final thought you might want to leave with us with Colt?
One final thought. I just want to say, my heartfelt condolences go out to the Brennan Ohana, to all his fans, his friends, and Warrior Nation. We just gotta be strong, man.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the good. Remember all the good that he
Yep.
did for this program, man.
Yep.
And let's just support one another and just realize that life is precious.
That's right.
And we just gotta love one another, man, and just lift each other up every time. And
That's
when
right.
you see somebody that needs help, reach out.
Yes.
Reach out. Even though they don't want your help, just keep reaching out. Just make them aware that you're there. That's all. And that's all I want to say is that if anybody sees Laulauhead, and if you don't know me, hey, come up, introduce. I would love to meet
Yeah.
other Warrior Nation. Yeah, we all love each other. I
Of
mean, you guys are
course.
my fam.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have met you, Wayne, if it
No.
wasn't for
Of
right
course.
UH, and you're one
No.
of the best guys I've ever met, man.
Oh,
So
wow.
much
Thank
love
you.
to you, much love to you, and just to Colt, I just want to leave with this about how much stardom to me he had. So it's just kind of a small, crazy story. But we're in the Taco Bell drive-through, and I was next in line to order. And I was just doing something on, I don't know what I was doing. I was reading something or something, and I heard the car in front of me ordering his food. I was like, hey, I just heard, oh, can I get two towels? Whatever I heard. I was like, hey, that's Colt Brennan. I just knew by just 5 words, and then I go, hey, Colt. And then he looked back and said, hey. So I was like, oh, that was so awesome, though, man. That's just the kind of effect he had on me. I was just like a fanboy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
No, we
yeah.
were all fanboys. It's funny because there was a thing that KHON did where um, they're like making fun of somebody, and Colt Brennan, he has a very distinct voice too, right? So,
Yes,
you
he
know, he's a
does.
part of all the jokes, and you know that just makes, you know, that goes to show how, like you said, he had a great relationship with his teammates, and he could have a joke, and he could laugh, and he could be a leader and serious at the same time, and he led us to the BCS, and we'll always remember that season in 2007. But mahalo Shane for
Exactly.
joining us, and we're gonna have
Thank you, bro.
brother Sean is gonna join us. We'll talk to you soon, Laulauhead. Aloha.
Okay, peace.
We're gonna have brother Sean Eyman is gonna join us. I'll try and shrink you. Sorry, Sean. I am. You're like really big right now, but that's because like I'm bringing in people like, um, can you hear me now?
Hey, what's up, Wayne?
Oh, can you use okay, as long as you can hear me, but yeah, it's fine. If you have the kind that's fine. Speaker. Can you hear me fine? Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So tonight we're talking about obviously the man Colt Brennan. You know, he's a guy you've been following for a long time. Even after he left, Sean has been a faithful fan of Colt Brennan and following him on social media, and you know, being somebody that he you know, the effect that he had on Sean. Clearly, look at Sean's like Sean and Shane. I'm just so impressive what they have. The kind of stuff they have is so cool.
All right.
And Sean's putting up there some of his cards and stuff. But there you go. You got some of that era's the swag of the era. I love our unis from the era. I'm sporting the right after Colt Brennan, the first Under Armour. It's just no
McMacken.
comment on that one right now. But we'll always think of the Nike era of Colt Brennan. But you got the jersey too. Sean is the man. He has so much cool stuff. But why is Colt Brennan so special to you, Sean?
He was so good. He was the best quarterback to ever play at this university. And like I said yesterday, like I would pick him over any quarterback, and not just at the University of Hawaii. Like I would take him over anybody. Him and our run and shoot system, magical. I would take him over Tebow, Vince Young, John Elway. Like I'll go to war with him.
You know, something about Colt, like when he's on the field, you're right. He is kind of like a guy, you know, a soldier in a way, where he's in alignment with his team, and he seemed to be so in sync. And Keone mentioned best receiver core, and they were a great core of receiver. So we're not going to undermine the talent, but there was something like telepathic also that Colt had with his receivers. Like he could call like you know, backyard routes, like audible them live. I mean, he just because he had a sixth sense of where, you know, the DBs, how they would play some of his receivers, or how Jason Rivers could just burn a guy down the field. But what was it about Colt, like when you say one of the best to ever play for us? Also, I mean, stats aside, what do you think made Colt so special?
Well, 70% career completion percentage. Like our guy right now, he's barely breaking
Well,
50.
stats aside,
You
though, I
know?
mean, because yes, the stats are important, but what do you think about Colt when you watched him play? Because you saw him with your own eyes, and people are going to talk about Sean. What was it about Colt? Because you were at most of those games too, if not all of them. But so,
Yeah.
what is your memory of seeing him on the field play?
Well, he just had so much aloha for the state, you know. He didn't just walk the walk. He talked it. I think right after we accepted the Sugar Bowl bid. They had that event at Cook Field where they were going to do autographs. And that thing was jammed because everybody wanted that Christmas present of, Colt Brennan's autograph, leading up to the Sugar Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
So I think you remember that? He stayed out there for just hours.
He was there for so long. I mean, it was so impressive. Just how many people came out as well. Just that he would attract that many people, but that he would reward them. I mean, it's like he felt obligated to be out there, and he didn't, and he shouldn't have, because that's not what college kids are there for. They're not there to sign autographs for hours. They don't get paid at all. But like what we talked about, and that would be a theme about Colt Brennan as well, is that the money was never something that he was interested in. And clearly, of course he deserved to have soap in the showers, if and something that he brought to our attention. But Colt was very selfless as well, and he was somebody that was a team guy for somebody that had the name, the recognition to rise above. He was obviously 6th and then 3rd in the Heisman vote. And I remember seeing him stand up there. I was just as proud, and seeing Marcus Mariota being from Hawaii obviously made me very proud. But having Colt there and representing our school and seeing our school's name up there where that lay, and I was like, oh, this TiVo guy. But it was cool to see the school in that room at the Downtown Athletic Club in New York, and be recognized with the likes of the Florida Gators, and obviously at the Sugar Bowl. That was something too, which was really cool, because I know you had to be there as well. But just talk about UH on the national level and that recognition that Colt Brennan brought.
Well, he just brought us to a level that we had never been before. And it's because he came back. Mm-hmm. I think almost anybody else would have left. They would have just cashed out their chips. I'm out. See you guys later. I'm going to take care of me. And take care of my ohana. But that's what's different about Colt. He came back, and I think that's why we love him so much, is because he did it for us. He came back, and that's part of why we love him, because he took us on that ride. We wouldn't have gone to the Sugar Bowl without him. I used to watch the Sugar Bowl as a kid, and I just thought, oh, well, wouldn't it be cool if we ever played in this game? And a couple years later, we were there in NOLA. So
a couple years later, we're wondering if we can ever get close, and that's just the difficulty of making it that far. You can't take it for granted. You can't take anything for granted. At this school that just finally won a team championship since 1987, a national championship, shows you how difficult it is. I mean, we've seen Fresno State, we've seen UC Irvine, we've seen Big West schools win team national championships just in the time that we've been in the Big West. So to say how difficult it is to make it that far in any sport, but clearly in football, is amazing. And Colt, it took a lot of these players who gave up, who sacrificed going to bigger teams, and sacrificed what could have been, obviously for Colt, had he left after his junior year, he would have, possibly gone the second round. June Jones said that he got a second round. I mean, regardless of that, because he could have not got drafted at all. Because I don't even want to speculate, but there is talk.
Well,
that
that's
Colt
what the speculation was. It was he got a 1st to 3rd round grade.
Yeah.
So I don't see how he came back. I would have been gone. I was like, peace, I'm out. See you guys later.
But what was it you think? What was it about the announcement? Talk about that. Were you surprised? What were you thinking?
Well, I mean, there was all this tension leading up to it. And then I remember that day because there was just so much tension. And then it kind of got out in the morning that the word was he was going to come back. And as soon as you saw him at the press conference, he was not wearing a tie.
Yeah.
He was wearing slippers, right? Mm-hmm. And you knew he was coming back.
Yeah.
And he pounded the podium, and he's coming back for his senior season, and it was on.
Well, now that we have the late Colt Brennan, it's so weird to say that. What do you think his legacy ultimately will be, because Shane says I am only going to remember like the playing days and the stuff that we got to see on the field. But what do you think ultimately will be Colt Brennan's legacy?
The greatest player in this program's history. He loved this place, and this place loved him.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't from here, but he got it. He got the aloha spirit, and he was great. He was great. I'm so glad you got to interview him, because that was so good. Such a deep dive into him.
Yeah.
And he was doing good at that point. So I'm so glad you got to do that.
Yeah, and I'm thankful that you were a part of that and helping to secure him on the show, because he, left us some words and some questions. Because can you imagine if we're like, man, I wish I could have asked him this question. I wish I could have said one more thing. So
Well, yeah, going out of that interview, there were so many questions or things that we talked around, and you heard all these stories.
Yeah, of course.
And he just shed light on it.
He did.
It was a spotlight, and you did such a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You did such a great job with that.
And I encourage everybody to go and watch it. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube, and the Hawaii Sports Fans channel. I'm going to make it a podcast, but he was upbeat. We talk about Colt Brennan, like his good and bad days, especially people talk about like after his accident and everything. I mean, like we caught him on a good day too, right? And I think we made him even better, and that was nice to see that light.
Yeah. Yeah, and shout out and condolences to the Brennan Ohana.
For sure.
Yeah, we feel for you guys. We love your son.
We did.
Yesterday was rough.
It was.
I did the post on IG. I was crying, and it took me an hour to cut and paste to Twitter and Facebook, because I couldn't type it again.
Yeah, it's hard.
I couldn't do it.
Seeing it on the ESPN bottom line was like crazy. Seeing it like real, making it real. But some people, let's go to some of the comments. Mahalo, Jonah, mahalo for being here. And Keone says a running shoe was unstoppable, and yes, there was no way. We've never gone back to the way that was run back then, and truly it was a machine. Jenny says truly selfless. Cave says bleed green 15. That's right, and we also are saying retire 15. Retire. Absolutely. We want to see the number 15 retired once and for all. Justin Lopez says, I remember his first game against USC. I do as well. I'm sure a lot of us remember a pick six that he threw as well. And, it was a welcome to the big league. But I got to see him the week after at Michigan State. And that was a game I got to talk about with him and his first start. Keone says, rest in paradise. Yes, we truly believe that he's peacefully resting right now in paradise. Keone talks about the blonde hair with the Hawaiian Islands was an iconic look. Do you remember that being in the ESPN the magazine?
Absolutely, absolutely. I loved it, and I hate to say it, but Cole McDonald kind of one upped them on that with the tattoo.
Wow!
But
wow.
He was the originator, though.
He was the originator.
And I just gotta say that June Jones's version of the run and shoot is like hands down the best.
Yeah.
Like. It was the pinnacle of Hawaii football.
Yeah, it was. I think having Colt Brennan on the team, having those guys, that was a perfect storm of having that much talent. But Colt was truly stood apart.
Just the way he came here, the stories about, if June Jones saying, if you're the guy I think you are, you're going to take over this team and lead us to the promised land.
Yeah. Well, now June Jones and I'm sure a lot who are close to him, we send our condolences to them because they knew Colt best, and we were grateful and lucky to be able to get closer to him a little bit, towards the lighter part of his life. But truly, we were really delighted and exhilarated that day to just hear from him. And I remember as fans of the program, we've had all these burning questions, and I'm glad you're a part of it. You got to ask some questions, and that was just exciting. But mahalo, Sean, for joining us, and sure we'll have you again soon. Aloha. There's a Sugar Bowl ticket. That was a great game, the Sugar Bowl in Louisiana.
He led us there.
Louisiana. And he did. He did lead us there. That was an amazing game still. I mean, I blocked out most of it because obviously, you know, the score was not great or on our side, but he did lead us to that game. So I'm glad you still have that ticket. I have mine.
Not there.
We just remember that, you know, our team leading on the field with the Hawaiian flag. That was cool, and seeing them, you know, just play the likes of Georgia and see all of our fans and their fans, and that was cool. All right,
The
mahalo for
Hawaii
joining
Pono'i,
us.
that was so
Oh, and
so
that was
awesome.
cool. The Hawaii Pono'i, and we tried to do that again at volleyball, but it was too hard. But we did sing it after the game, and that's just a cool. That's a great tradition that I think Hawaii fans we need to do even more of, because it's cool that so many people know our state anthem, and you know, it means so much to us.
Halloween.
All right, mahalo, Sean. Thanks for being there. We're gonna bring on our boy Ryan. So I'm gonna ask him to start his video and unmute himself, because he's going to join us now. And are you there? Oh,
Can you hear me
what's
okay?
up, Ryan? How are you? I can hear you. How you been, bro?
Okay. Good, man.
What are your what
You ready?
have been your thoughts been like these last couple of days? Or
It's been... Are you switching over video right now?
oh,
Okay.
yeah. Can you see me? Or is it okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
No, I've got your Zoom and the Facebook on at the same time, so it was a little confusing for a
Yeah,
second.
it is a little bit off.
But yeah, I mean, you know, we had that phone call yesterday. That was pretty tough with you know, you and I, we just sharing some memories and
Yeah.
some moments there with that. Yeah, it hit me. I think I was, not that I was the one that, you know, wanted to break the news, but I think I was one of the first that kind of posted in our group on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it was just tough to just, yeah, I mean, I can't believe it even happened, you know. It's still a little numbness, I'd say. Because, yeah, I mean, growing up as a fan, and I've been a fan, I've been going to games, as you know, since before I turned one.
Yeah.
You know, Aloha Stadium in the 90s. You know, I went to almost every single game. You know, my Christmas present, we talked about this, I think, last year, about a year ago, but like my Christmas present was Sugar Bowl tickets.
Oh,
and
cool.
I kind of got lucky
Okay.
because Aunt and Uncle couldn't go. And then I was in Hawaii for Christmas, and I'm pretty sure whenever my flight was like Hawaii to LA to Dallas to New Orleans.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And yeah, just went out there. My roommate from college went with me. We stayed with a couple friends that lived in New Orleans, which was really cool. Having our first crawfish
Yeah,
for the first
I had
time.
a lot of my first in New
So,
Orleans, that's for sure.
Yeah. It was just, you know, that whole experience. But yeah, I mean, Colt, following him, you know, as it came on, the run and shoot, you know, coming from when I played in high school from a spread offense, you know, it was kind of cool to see Hawaii do something like that. You know, a lot of college teams and, you know, still in the pros, right? You've got a pro set with a tight end and stuff. And then seeing someone just light up and actually, hey, we're going to throw for 400 or 500 yards a game. Yeah, it was it was really cool to see over those years, and you know, not something that we hadn't seen something like that since, you know, the Rolo, you know, like that December 2001 game against BYU, right?
No, yeah, we haven't seen anything like that. I mean, and we're talking with Ryan Sue. Ryan, interesting because Ryan grew up in Hawaii, and then he made a detour to the dirty South in Dallas, Texas, and became a Dallas Texan and played in a giant stadium, which is going to be much larger than the on-campus stadium. And he played, his high school stadium will be. Of course, it's Texas, but you know, like you said, a lot of that was revolutionized, and you know, you were a part of that era too. We're about the same age. I'm the same age as Colt. I'm the same exact age as him, and it's weird to see, you know, obviously somebody past that's the same age as me, but you know, we were part of that era too, where, you know, and football in general was starting to embrace these wacky offenses, right?
Yeah, I mean, we started. Basically, it's kind of funny because, you know, I've told this story to a few people. My high school coach was the quarterbacks coach for our Todd Graham at Pittsburgh for a year. So cool. It was, small world with that. But yeah, I mean, he brought, you know, the spread offense to us in high school, and, you know, we were, Yeah, kind of a powerhouse in high school. I mean, we got a brand new stadium in 2001 that had 12,000 seats in it. I think they upped it to like 18,000 now. So I think we're hoping for 10 this year for
Yeah.
UH.
Wow. Yeah, I know. Exactly. Well, I think it says round 9, it said so far. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
But if we can get some sort of fans in, I know that the players and the staff and everyone there would just it'd be amazing just to have that period right now. As important sports are right now, as being able to go to a national championship for volleyball like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been lucky. Texas has been a little more open, but I got to go to a Stars game the past couple months, and even though they're limited at 4,000 seats, just to be there for live sports, right? I think it's really important. Not to get into the mental health side.
Yeah, of course, for your mental health, obviously a big topic surrounding Colt, and something we talked about when I interviewed him last time. I went straight in with it, and we had a good discussion, but. That'll be something next year, opening up on the stadium, and hopefully honoring Colt. Hopefully, how can we make Colt a permanent fixture? How do we immortalize him properly? I think a statue would be. I think it'd be hard because a lot of people will push back on spending too much, I think, on, just because of Colt and off the field. And some people are still have some bitterness towards what happened in Kona. And we send our aloha to the victim of that as well, because of the accident Colt was a part of. And, we know that obviously, Colt wasn't going to hide from anything. That's one thing about him.
Right.
He was very open. He wasn't trying to, and he was open about his struggles towards the end, and open with his fans. And how important do you seeing athletes come out and talk about mental health more now? Dak, just a lot of different players, and because I gotta give a Dallas reference, obviously. But what do you think that is affecting the game?
I think it's huge. I think that it's for people to come out and talk about some of the struggles they've gone through, and it's tough because you'll see some people comment, you can't be depressed if you've got $100 million, and of course you can.
Exactly.
I think that no matter who you are, whether you're a billionaire, whether you're someone who's struggling week to week, I mean, yes, we all deal with it. I think that, one of the cool things about Colt is, when I would converse with him one-on-one and stuff, whether it be Instagram or whatnot, he'd always be like, hey, today, kind of had a rough day, but I'm getting better. Or, hey, I'm doing well. How are you doing? You read some of that stuff with him. It was always, like the guys before me talked about, it was always about the fans, and he always had the extra time. Or he didn't always have the extra time, but he tried to give it as much as he could, so he was always someone who, would respond. And I think that helped him too. It was his way of saying, hey, this is how I can give back to these people, to the fans, to the community, to the state. And, but yeah, I mean, getting back to that, the mental health thing is really important. I think that it's good when professional athletes are talking about it and telling people, hey, it's, there's nothing to feel bad about if you're, need to talk to a professional. Obviously Colt went through over the past decade, a lot of different things, pushing through rehab, and it's slowly getting there, but I do think that the availability, I hope, gets there. I do have a few friends who have become licensed psychologists and whatnot, and been through school and whatnot, and I think there's a lot of growth, which is good. I think it's pretty important.
Well, I think it's extremely important, especially now as we're seeing suicides. We're seeing players talk about more about battles with head injuries or whatever. It's a struggle, and I know for people just playing in Pop Warner in high school, I mean, the amount of hits that kids taking, can have that effect on you later in life.
I mean, they had that. I think it was just yesterday. Some video was posted that USA Football was condemning because it was like a I don't know, 2 7, 8-year-old kids doing a head-to-head, drill.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know if you saw that or not.
I heard about
this is coming from me. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely, coaching is almost, it's just like teaching, and it's, hey, doing the right thing, just starting young, and it comes to, just being technical in what you're doing and how you're teaching. I was lucky that, with my high school, we learned so much on technique and, what to do, what not to do. But even me, I've had a few concussions in my decent career as far as football goes. So yeah, you kind of worry sometimes about those long-term effects. I remember one kickoff return. Yeah, I caught it, ran, and just got, blindsided.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked my coach what the score was, like 3 times in a row, and he's like, "Yep, you're sitting down, you're out for the game."
Yeah. It's good that he even asked. Even if you look at people talking about playing in the 70s, 60s, it's like you just like get water or something if they let you do that.
Yeah, you get water. You get if you get knocked out, they get smelling salts, and then you're like back in the next series or whatnot, right? But no, I think it's definitely gotten a lot better. We had not just on the concussion side, but like dehydration. When I was in middle school, high school, it was unfortunate, but there were a lot of kids that were just dying, and it was, or not a lot, but a decent amount to, create some national news on just dehydration, because, I can understand the mental side of, hey, your coaches are trying to push your players, but, it was kind of that era where, hey, we had to like stop it, and, from coaches over pushing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was crazy, but that was the switch around when I was playing in middle school and high school.
Now that Colt, we have got the confirmation from his family that he was able to pass peacefully around them. At least that was kind of something that we know was nice for him to be surrounded. But with Colt and his issues with mental health, and how he's been open and frank about how it's affected his relationship with his family, what do you think is the best way for kids, especially who, I think I can't speak, we're about the same generation. Our parents are like boomers.
Yep.
And, boomers are not the best at communicating. Sorry if you're a boomer watching this. It's true. And, but that's one thing I think was kind of was cool, like his parents and his sister, and how they've been surrounding him and been open with him. But what are some things that you're seeing, or maybe how this generation has been different with their approach?
I think it's been, the approach, I think, is tough because there's amazing things about social media, and then I think at the same time it's absolutely horrible when it comes to communication.
Yeah. Oh, did we lose Ryan? Did I lose him? I think might have to bring in Russ. Let's see if we can get Russ in. I think we lost Ryan. I don't know if you can all hear me still out there. I think Colt taught us a lot. He taught us about how important it was to, have the services of your family and friends to support you through, what is a real difficult time, sometimes when you are living in that dark place. And Colt was very open about that. And I bring on a guy who's on the field. If you go to any away game, you basically see him on the field. And he's shooting pictures. You see a lot of his photos in the articles used by Nicola for the website. But this is Russ Cannon. And aloha, Russ, and welcome.
Hey, Wayne. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
And there again, the guy who's got his Colt Brennan cave going. You got the Colt Brennan jersey on. You got one. I love it. There's some Colt mania. But just talk about why you love Colt Brennan so much.
Well, when he came to the program, I think it was 2005, I got a phone call from a friend that was on the coaching staff at the time and said, hey, I can't wait for you to check out this new guy we got from California named Colt Brennan. We got high expectations for him. I didn't know anything about him at the time. I met him his first year there on the sidelines, and, just really loved the guy.
Yeah.
Love watching him play, love talking to him. Got to know his parents, Terry and Betsy, a little bit along the way. Back in those days, my girls were young. I used to bring my girls to all the games, and they would watch them as well. They loved.
Cool.
Savannah. You've met
Yep.
Savannah. I don't know if
Yep.
you've met Skylar, but they love Colt Brennan. The guy was amazing. He was a magician on the field. I'm just grateful that he played for Hawaii and that I had an opportunity to photograph him on the sidelines and have a small part in that.
Do you remember your first time meeting him?
I beg your pardon?
Do you remember the first time you met him, Colt?
I do. I don't remember which game it was, but I remember I just approached him pregame and introduced myself to him and told him what I do, as far as photos and everything. And he just said, "Hey, man, it's good to meet you. I'm glad you're here." And he went on to warm-ups. But, talked to him many times and, along the way in his 3 years at UH.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget him. Nobody will ever forget him. He's a legend. He's an icon.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Hawaiian treasure. He'll always be known as a son of Hawaii.
Yes.
And he brought so much to the program. He was the face of the program. And to be honest with you, Wayne, I mean, I've been shooting college football for 25 years. In my opinion, and I may be a little biased here, but he's the greatest college quarterback I've ever seen play.
Wow.
Hands down.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was that.
Hard to disagree with that. What was it about Colt? Not the numbers, but what was it about him that just set him apart?
Well, he just had that gift from God, that athletic ability. His accuracy was just incredible. I mean, I don't remember exactly the percentage of how accurate he was, but I'm sure he was one of the highest accuracy rates in college back then, maybe still today. His passes were there. He could throw it on a rope. He could throw long. He could throw short. He could improvise. He could run. He could scramble. He was the complete package. He did it all. And he, like I said earlier, I was talking to someone else. I said he brought so much to the game that no matter what, Hawaii always had a chance to win with Colt Brennan because you just never knew what this kid was going to do. He could pull off some amazing stunts and get away from would-be tacklers and just make incredible passes. One of my favorite games, that San Jose game, I think was 07 maybe, triple overtime, I think, or overtime, It was pouring down rain, high winds. It was cold. My girls were begging me to take them back to the hotel. And I told my kids, they were in ponchos, it was pouring down rain. I said, you can never give up on Colt Brennan. I said, This guy, I'm telling you, even though we're down 14, I said, we can still win. We came back and tied it up. Went down 14 again. They were begging me to leave. They were freezing. Their fingers were numb. They're cold. They're shivering. And I said, he came back once. He could do it again. Sure enough, he led the Warriors back from another 14-point deficit and won that game in overtime. And they were so glad at the end of that they stayed to see that and celebrate with everyone after the game. I mean, it was just a lifetime of memories in the few years he had there. It's just a lifetime of memories.
And when we look at Colt's career and some of his biggest moments, the Sugar Bowl is one of them, obviously, or just getting us there. Maybe not the game itself, but what do you think some of the games that stood out to you that really, or plays even, that really showed what kind of athlete Colt Brennan was?
The Sugar Bowl, getting us, that was the undefeated season. That was an incredible year. I think probably the second most game that stands out to me would be the bowl game in Hawaii against Arizona State. I think he threw 5 or 6 touchdowns and, I don't know, 400 or 500 yards. I mean, that seemed like the norm every game for him anyway.
Yeah.
That was just a big game. I think he broke some records in that game. And the San Jose game, the overtime game, and the pouring down rain. Of course, back then, I hate to go back to the San Jose State game, but that was when they had natural grass back then. They didn't have the turf that they have now. And that field was a mud bath.
Yeah,
You
yes, it
know,
was.
there was no traction on that field whatsoever. It was a mud. Yes. Were you at that game as well? I'm sure
I
you
wasn't,
were.
I was a substitute teacher. I was teaching I was a long-term sub. I was just out of college. I was teaching math at Mililani High School. And I used to tell the kids there, I know, I was a kid. Literally looked like I was like a freshman and I was a teacher. But
Yeah.
like I would be like, guys, like the game is happening, like hurry. I remember like getting home because it was like a Friday game on ESPN. And I remember getting home just in time to see like, or I saw most of like the second half maybe. And I was just like, wow. I mean, I remember running out my front door and screaming when we won at the end because San Jose clearly had juiced the game by Dick Tomey had like drenched the field. So I thought it was great gamesmanship on San Jose's part. But I mean, Colt and Devon Bess and Gus Mullen and all those guys, they just couldn't be beaten. I mean, even if you tried slowing them down in the mud, it's like they couldn't be beat. What was it like just walking on that field?
Oh, I mean, it was ankle deep with mud in
Oh
some
my God.
places. I mean, it
Oh
was.
my God.
It was. I mean, there was torrential downpours throughout that game, off and on. Of course, the wind was blowing like 25, 35 mile an hour gust. It was
Yeah.
terrible.
Yep. That was
And there was a lot of doubt about that game.
Yeah.
Being down 14 points
course.
and being down 14 points again. And that game stands out probably the most. And then probably the bowl game against Arizona State, where he broke some records and beat Arizona in that bowl game.
Well, now that we are, at that place where, like we say, Colt Brennan has now passed with us, we'll have a lot of memories, obviously, to share. But we also talk about how, his is not a cursory tale per se, but something that, his life seems tragic, with just the way it ended and just how we had so much potential for him. But when you look back at his legacy, what do you think it will be ultimately?
Well, hopefully people will focus on the positive things about Colt Brennan. Everything in his life is very well documented, and I just want to focus on the positive things.
Mm-hmm.
What he brought to the team, the program, really the state of Hawaii. I mean, he really put that program back on the map.
Mm-hmm.
His legacy, in my opinion, is he's going to go down, if he's not already down, as the greatest quarterback in the history of the Hawaii football program,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play college football, in my opinion.
And I agree with that. I agree completely. And I think his career and his time that he came to UH in our program will overshadow anything else in his life. And of course, all of us do things that we wish we didn't. All of us have to go through our battles. But Colt had to be very open with his. I mean, as a public figure, everybody knew what he was going through. Everything was always on display, and people don't realize like that kind of pressure too. And having his name out there. And we, of course, wish that he had been able to stick with the team. I think the Redskins drafting him was kind of unfortunate. I think that he wasn't really somebody that was maybe even looked at, it seemed like, going into that season on that roster as a third quarterback, despite playing really well in, the preseason game, including the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, when he was just like zipping balls in like a needle through, like yarn through the eye of a needle. I mean, that was something that reminds me. When I think of Colt and on the field, I think about his daringness, his ability to take risks, but make it look easy, like just cut through defenders.
Yeah. I recall that game, the game in Ohio. Mm-hmm. John Madden and Al Michaels, I think, was calling that game, and they were both just, giving Colt all kinds of props on these throws he was making, because they were right on the money, things we've seen him do all the time. But Colt was really a perfect fit for Hawaii. He loved Hawaii. He embraced Hawaii. Hawaii embraced him. Hawaii loved him. He spent a lot of time with the fans and especially the kids, always big time, taking photos, shaking hands, signing autographs. later in life working with some of the high school kids in football. I mean, the guy he was perfect for Hawaii. He really was. He's a Hawaiian treasure, a Hawaiian treasure.
Well, now that Colt Brennan has, departed from us, it seems like a lot of people now are also appreciating him more because we haven't been able to. And I think that goes to say for a lot. It's like we see them and we see them on the field, but then we forget that they're human beings too. And once the lights go off, once they take the uniform off, they have to go out into the world and live and be a part of society. And that's some of them taking away injuries that they have to take with them along the way as well, without the monies and everything. And that was something I think that Colt, that hit he took against Fresno, which I'll never forget, and he talks about a little bit in the interview. So I would say go back and watch my interview with him. It was from May 24th last year, nearly a year ago, almost a year ago to the day. But that was a brutal hit and something I won't forget as well. But Colt, and that affected him in the Nevada game, and Tyler Gronke had to play, and Dan Kelly had to make that kick. So just so much, so many stories from that season. But Colt, every step along the way, a guy that was a steady force, a guy that led by example, and a guy that everybody just loved to follow. It seemed like on that team as well.
Exactly. He'll be missed for sure by all of Hawaii. Everybody in Hawaii loved Colt Brennan.
Yeah, everybody in Hawaii loved Colt Brennan. But Russ Cannon, mahalo for joining us. Mahalo for sharing your feelings and your thoughts. And we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Wayne. I'll see you later on this year.
Of course. We'll see you soon. And that's Russ Cannon, photographer, a guy on the road. You see a lot of him on the road. And we're moving along here with more and more guests. We're going to bring on the incomparable Dara Young. If Dara Young is there.
Hi!
Is she there? I'm waiting for her video to come up. So let's see if we can get her video.
Wait,
up.
I'm here.
Okay. I don't know why your video's not popping up.
Really? Oh.
No, I mean, I see you in the thing, but for some reason, okay, Russ, for some reason it's like, it's asking Russ to, we want Dara. Spotlight for everyone, Dara. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, you can see.
I'm driving.
Yay. No, it's fine. You're always on the go. And, you just came right from Ohio as well. What was that Ohio trip like for you? Let's talk about that real quick.
Oh my God, it was so awesome. We decided so last minute. We decided that night they won.
Yeah.
So I bought my tickets at 6 p.m. on Thursday night.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so the Thursday night they won. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yes. Isn't that crazy?
So what time did you leave? Was it, you left on Friday, right?
7:45 p.m. flight to Chicago, then transfer to Columbus.
Yeah. Wow.
Get in at noon, take a quick nap, and then take a COVID test.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, people don't know you have to get to COVID test. It's so humbug, but for those who made the trip to Columbus, and it was fun to see Dara, shout out to El Chibo, our friend as well, who made the last minute trip. It was fun to see a bunch of faces out there, and exciting to see a Rainbow Warrior victory and a Rainbow victory, a victory for the University of Hawaii, the entire athletics program. And I would say, really one of the moments, the pinnacles in the program's history, and all that excitement from that and the amazing trip. I remember coming home or being back in bed and hearing about, or just feeling just the excitement from all of that, and then getting a call and hearing about Colt and just feeling deflated. What was it like for you hearing about Colt's passing?
Me?
Describe how you did. Yeah, for you.
Yeah. So Gary texted me about 7 a.m. yesterday. Was it 7?
Mm-hmm.
He texted a bunch of us the Hawaii News Now notification.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it. I got out of bed, but I don't think a lot of people know that I work in the booth at the
yeah.
football games, and I have
mhm.
been for 30 years.
Wow.
And so all the time through the Colt Brennan years, we're told to be objective and neutral,
Yeah,
don't cheer. So I really
yeah.
didn't cheer, and
Mhm.
going to away games were not cool either.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
only really went to the
I know
Sugar
what you mean.
Bowl starting,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So from then, that was his last game. And so I feel like I never really cheered for him. And then I, looked at social media all day, and I was exhausted from crying because I feel like I never really cheered loudly for him.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
feel like I just, yeah.
Well, that season of obviously and going to the Sugar Bowl and being able to be
Mm-hmm.
there. What were some of the memories you
Mm-hmm.
took away from that experience of just being a Hawaii fan, what that was like?
Well, it was amazing to see how many people showed up because
Mm,
previously people said Hawaii people don't travel. They can't travel that far anyway. They're not interested in spending that much kind of money.
mm-hmm.
But you know what? As we've all seen through the years, if it's a good product, a good experience, people will pay.
Of course.
Money
Yeah.
is not an object or not a factor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's
Yeah.
once in a lifetime. When we say that, I love to say once in a lifetime, but it
Mm-hmm.
is because it's like NFTs, right? People are into these
Mm-hmm.
non-fungible tokens, and NFTs mean like you can never be
Yes.
replaced, and these experiences are
Yes.
irreplaceable. You cannot just go to
Yeah.
another experience. You don't know what. There's so many factors that go into a game, and unfortunately, when you go to a
Mm-hmm.
UH Road game, a lot of them include the final score, which could have an adverse effect on your enjoyment of the entire tour. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
say it's not just the game or the outcome of the game, it's that experience surrounding the game and all the places that we go
Mm-hmm.
and the food that we eat. But ultimately,
Yes.
when we follow this team, it's because we love that representation and being from Hawaii. And
Mm-hmm.
Colt was one of those people that really embraced Hawaii. And
Mm-hmm.
from your perspective and
Yes.
watching him play, what was that like? And seeing him and the way that he embraced
Oof.
the islands.
Man, you look back now and you realize how gracious he was
Mm-hmm.
and how really gracious and open and humble he was.
Yeah.
To everyone. It didn't matter. He was just kind. And that's what we need in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was, like they said, he would wait outside for, to be one of the last people to leave. If people wanted to get his autograph, he was always willing to,
Mm-hmm.
and especially people
Mm-hmm.
don't realize if you're a recent fan of the team that back then, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Colt was really celebrity status. And I don't know how,
Mm-hmm.
you're like the Twitter queen, you're like a social media guru. So,
Oh my God.
like, I don't know if 2007, you're already in big time in the Twitter game, but,
No.
if, like, it seemed like if that was happening now, wow, we would have way
Mm-hmm.
more, it would amplify, right? Like the amount of
Yes.
attention
Yes.
brought to the team.
I know. I think about those times too because, social media only became like maybe 2009, 10,
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
And yeah, but if it was in those days, holy smokes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it seems like, our team and that's something that we want to work on, right? We want to see fan engagement and we
Mm-hmm.
want to
Mm-hmm.
see how we can grow this program. And with Colt's passing
Mm-hmm.
and with what happened with Colt, do you think that we could inspire the fan base through Colt's memory, or what do you think we can,
Mm-hmm.
how do we help to fuel the memory of Colt Brennan and what he's done for our program, and also assist in growing that fan base to that level of excitement once again?
Well, I know that a lot of people are putting plans in place, first of all, to,
Mm-hmm.
um, I haven't said it out loud, but I somehow hope that something is named after him,
Yes.
whether
yes,
it's the new
yes.
football complex
Mhm.
or whatever. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or some kind of scholarship or maybe a new award for the football players.
Yeah. Yeah. No, at least that for sure.
Yeah, the end
And
of
we
the
have
year. Yeah.
And Kimberly, we have something. Kimberly Garcia, she commented earlier
Mhm.
tonight on our Facebook Live. If you're watching on Facebook,
Mhm.
we're on Facebook Live every Wednesday. We're also, you can listen to this on podcasts. Some people like to listen
Mhm.
on the go. But Kimberly says, name the field after Colt Brennan. So that might be a good
Mhm.
idea as
Mhm.
well.
Yes, yes. So something like that. And then also, yeah, I really hope we can do something to honor his memory because
Yeah.
Is he even in the Hall of Honor?
That's why I don't know. Actually, I was thinking that. I don't think so. I don't think he is, because I don't remember. The only time I really remember him coming back is when they would honor like the team, like that era. It wasn't like necessarily when he. I don't remember him being there alone, like being honored. But I think Colt will be somebody that, like they say, stands alone. Perhaps the greatest quarterback to ever come out of UH. And when you hear things like that, someone that's been around the program so long.
Right.
Is that hyperbole? Is that are we just do you think people are just saying that because it's like, oh, it's Colt and we've heard, but truly, I mean, what do you feel like what will be his ultimate legacy as Colt Brennan?
Yeah, I think he is definitely the best player to ever don a UH uniform ever. And he did it because of his charisma too. And then his kindness, of course. And he took this program and this university and the state to heights that we've never been before.
Yes. And it's like those heights, they're so hard to get to. And as a fan that, you can't take it for granted when you're winning. You can't take it for granted when, you have these seasons, these dream seasons, because they don't happen that often. But Justin, who's going to join us soon, Justin Baptiste, he says the team is in the honor. So that's true. Yes, the team, the 2007, the entire team was inducted, but he's not inducted individually. Thank you, Justin. He's going to join us to talk about that actually
awesome.
next. But Dara Young, I mean, any last thoughts as you reflect on what has been a really busy few days for you, and just some of those feelings of up and down? What has that been like?
Yeah, it's been just from the highest of highs, as Fuchsia said, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. I feel like last night I was totally exhausted. I woke up this morning, I felt like yesterday was a bad dream. Yeah. I was like totally crying. I was seeing all the news reports. They did such a beautiful job, like Jim Mendoza, Rob DeMello. Their stories were just amazing. And of course, when you see guys cry, it's like, oh God, I'm a mess now. And I hope no one comes to my office.
I do that a lot on this show too. So, I mean, you're free to see me cry. But, he's just that kind of guy who was able to move, Colt was, to move everyone and to really bring together people in a way that was like almost like a politician. I mean, he probably could have ran for public office, right?
Oh, yes. That year. Yes.
But Dara Young, mahalo for joining us. You're always on the go. Appreciate follow her. Go find Dara on social media. She's a huge fan. I was so happy to see her in Ohio. And
I'm wearing my colors today too.
Yes, that's right. And if you're out and about, the Rainbow Warrior volleyball team is on a trolley making their rounds. So I'm getting reports that people are seeing them out and around town. So maybe you'll see Dara too. But mahalo for joining us, Dara.
All right. Thanks, Wing.
Thank you. Aloha.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That's Dara Young. She was in Ohio. She made all of those, those connections to go from Honolulu to wherever she was going to next, Columbus. But we're going to have Justin Baptiste join us, and I'm going to actually I'm doing some, okay, there we go. Live editing, kind things. But Justin, you had a chance. And Justin, first of all, introduce yourself to everyone. Talk about yourself a little bit.
So I'm Justin Baptiste, and aspiring reporter, currently going to school and college at HGC, but definitely been around a lot of the sports and entertainment for quite some time. And it's a pleasure to be on here with you.
Well, thanks. I mean, I know that you've been around a little bit. You've talked to a lot of people, and you've been able to make connections. And Colt was one of those guys as well, right? That you got to talk to and talk about that.
Absolutely. Colt was such a great guy, such a success story from the beginning, And, you know, we had a chance to talk on Instagram, like I'm sure a lot of people have.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a chance to meet up,
Nice.
you know, when he was in Kaava
Okay.
on, you know, the west side of town.
Okay,
And, you
cool.
know, yeah, sat down and had a sit down interview. You know, we was talking about sports and football and just kind of getting to know more about him and
Mm-hmm.
seeing what he likes and seeing the different things that he enjoys and whatnot. So just a great guy, and you know, it's definitely somebody that, you know, we're gonna all miss for sure.
And you know, you've seen some players come through this program, and you know, and go through college football in general. And Colt, you know, stands out. But what do you think it is about Colt Brennan that made him stand out?
I think for me, it was his personality. It was his personality, how he approached himself, how he was very respected on the island. Always said the right things. Always was just, you know, for, you know, team first player, and just you could tell he always wanted to get back to the community, get back to the islands, and would do anything that he could to make that happen. So I think for me, that's what I will remember the most from him.
Well, I think Colt also, like, you've seen like the way that he was able to galvanize the whole state, right? Bring people together. What would you liken that to? If somebody was like, what was it like? You know, now kids, right? Because like that was legit like 15 years ago when Colt Brennan was doing this, right? Or 14 years ago. So they're like kids now they were like 4, right? Or you know, in college. So some of them probably don't have the clearest memory of Colt Brennan. And you know, with technology and media and HD media, it's hard to lose that. The receipts are there, right? Now we don't have to. It's like the guys from the 50s and 60s are like, back in my day, it's like they don't have anything to like disprove. But everything is out there with Colt Brennan, and you can go back and watch almost every one of his plays. But what stands out a lot about him, you know, we talk about is like that helmet, that swag, and that it's that persona as well. And talk about how that with an athlete is something that's so important, like today, and when we talk about branding as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a positive athlete, you know, will attract and draw many fans.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how you handle yourself in the media. It's how you handle yourself as a person that people will attract to you. And I think for Colt, you know, I can remember just before that season started, I remember they had a Ohana Day festival at the stadium, and I'm sure you probably remember that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Big corner, big line around the corner. I mean, you had Jason Rivers there, you had Ryan Grice Mullen, Blake Leon Wright Jackson, Kilo Polaris,
Yeah.
Noki Funaki.
Yeah.
They were all there, photographs for everybody.
Yeah.
And just to see the line of people for not only Colt, but for everybody, just showed how the island has had and always had support for its team. So that was a special time. And, you know, next day, you know, Nate Laulauhead gets drafted in the NFL today. So, you know.
I mean, you talk about some of these names. I actually signed autographs, not because I was on the team, but because I was staying in the same hotel, and like there would be like autograph hounds just wanting to sign. I was just like, okay, I am scrawny. I'm 6'2", I guess. So people are like, okay, you're on the team, right? You look like you're 14, but are you on the team? But I was like, sure, even though I was a graduate from college. But you know, that was just like the phenomenon. Like you wouldn't see that now, right? You wouldn't see like people hounding our team for autographs. And that was like just a phenomenon, and how explosive that was on the national scene, right? Like watching SportsCenter, watching Lee Corso, watching you know, these guys on College Game Day talking about UH every week. Like it was like a dream, right? It's like one of those things as a kid growing up. You're like, any UH reference, I would always call my grandpa like, oh my gosh, this guy said that UH versus Air Force. And he was like, what? And I'm like, he said +3 UH. And I was like, I think that's a gambling show. I'm like, oh yeah. It was like all these confusing shows are talking about lines. I'm like, I'm a kid. I don't know. I'm just watching like sports. But it was cool to always have Hawaii on the national conscious, because, you know, we're the last game. Like our games would be at 7 or something. I remember going up, so it's like midnight or 1 a.m. on the East Coast. Like legit would be like Sunday. They would put it as like, why is your game on Sunday? But it's like, no, in your neck of the woods, it's on Sunday, but in Hawaii, it's still Saturday. So it's like confusing also for television. But we have kind of created our own culture in Hawaii that is, just kind of been different from what we've seen in other parts of the world and in college. But what do you think it is that makes Hawaii stand apart, and how do you think Colt was a part of that and its success?
Well, I mean, we're in paradise, we're in paradise. And I think that for Colt, what he did at that time was special. I mean, it's something that we never even thought would happen. I mean, you talk about ESPN, you talk about all the major sports networks. I mean, we were like Alabama with, the national rankings. We were that type of national exposure where every week we had something to talk about. For Hawaii to get that exposure and get the national activity that it did, I think it not only put Hawaii on the map, but I think it also put future, college player recruits, future coaches, future people in their mind to say, hey, if Colt Brennan could do it, I can go to the islands and do the same thing as well. So I think you'll have a lot of players will still want to come down to Hawaii to play just because of the Colt Brennan era. You talk about J.R. Hemsley, who used to watch games at 1, 2 in the morning from Oklahoma, wanted to come down and play.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think even more now, because they want to carry that tradition. I feel it's just going to be a rapid, recruiting for years to come, I think.
Well, I think that's going to be Colt's legacy as well, not just what he's done, but what he will do for the future. And I think one way that we can ensure that his legacy is intact is by immortalizing him, is memorializing him in some way. Kimberly also says, we need a Colt Brennan day. That would be cool. That should be the day that they beat Boise. Or maybe I like that. Like a Colt Brennan day, like every year somehow to memorialize him. Like definitely the 15 patch is probably going to be something a part of the uniform, I would imagine. They're also hashtag retire 15 campaign is underway, and we want to see the number 15 retired. I don't think we can really, I don't think anybody can really wear it, especially now that he's passed. I don't think but now that, he wouldn't be able to give his blessing on somebody getting the number particularly. That number should be reserved for Colt Brennan forever and ever and ever, number 15. But what are some other ways you think that the program can honor Colt Brennan's memory?
I think for me, just remember the motivation, the strength to withstand anything. I think that's what people need to remember, is because, they were down a lot of games, but they didn't quit. I remember being in New York when it was after midnight. I remember the San Jose State game, and I was like, oh man, we're going to come back from this. But, the team was such a gel team at that time that they never quit. Yeah. They wanted to pursue an undefeated season, and they got it. And it's all about teamwork. It's all about just gelling together and doing it as one. So I think
you were in New York at the time. Are you born and raised in Hawaii? Are you from Hawaii originally?
Originally from New York, but raised out here in Hawaii.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
Wow. So where did you go to UH as well?
No.
You're at UH now, you said, right? Yeah.
Community college.
Okay. Well, it is something that, like you said, you've seen so much, and that's part of, being, like you said, an aspiring reporter, is like that knowledge base, being able to reference sports history. And I know you've seen a lot of that and are able to do that. So we definitely wish you best of luck with that. But, just any final, memories that you want to share about Colt.
This is very humble, gave back to everybody, and never turned anybody down. Was always going to be there until the last person was there. So just a great guy, humble guy, and somebody that, will be in forever history.
That's right. He'll be there forever. And Colt Brennan, remembering him tonight, forever in our hearts, in our minds. Mahalo, Justin, for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon. Aloha.
Thank you.
All right. So we are, we're getting to that time of the program. I know it's been a quick night. Our brother Kaveh Key, if you watched our Colt Brennan special last year, it was about May of last year, almost a year ago to the day we had Colt. And Kaveh did a little entry, and I wanted to play it again if you hadn't heard it before. This was from last year, and he reposted it again. Oh. Sorry. So if you got the bow flow, he is the bow flow on. He made some raps about UH men's volleyball as well, so that was pretty cool. But here's Kaveh. Our brother Kaveh. Mahalo Kaveh for that. He even told me, I was hoping he would join us. He talked about that's how he became a fan. And Kaveh is from Los Angeles and was one of those guys who became a fan via television, via those late night performances on Fox Sports West and these other regional stations that would show Hawaii football when the rest of the world was already over with their football day. Hawaii was still going. And that's the best part about Hawaii, right? We can watch football all day, especially on Saturday. Watch the first games, all the East Coast games starting at like 6 a.m. and you get to watch UH all the way to the very end of just like a whole day of football. And that's kind of the part of our culture, like we were talking about. Our culture in Hawaii is different. It's not like any other place. It's not like any other Division I program, and you have to know that. You have to know when you come to Hawaii that we are different, that you have to adjust to us because it's our program. And local people, as fans of this program, as the stakeholders of this program, our culture is embedded, our local culture is embedded into this program, one that is about love and loyalty and humility. And, when the success comes, we love the success, but we just want to see our guys play hard and be humble. And Colt was all those things. But he was also successful, and he also set all these amazing records. Some of them just, we're just starting to hear be broken, and that's only because a lot of schools are emulating what June Jones and some of the other run and shoot coaches are doing. A lot of their schemes, and that's it went from the run and shoot as a gimmicky offense, and it's kind of wacky to see these mid-major conferences running all these schemes to now where even like Alabama and the SEC teams are running all kinds of spread, read option, and doing all kinds of things in the field. And, that's just how the game will innovate. And it was nice to see that at Hawaii, that revolution, especially for a school whose athletics budget is dwarfed by the major schools, by the major conferences like the SEC. Yet Hawaii was there. Hawaii was up there in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I was there too, and a lot of you were there as well. And we got to see our team and our name in lights, and it was because Colt Brennan. And we always felt if Colt Brennan was there, anything could happen. If Colt Brennan was on the field, if Colt Brennan, just had some time on the clock, he could make something happen. For me, it was September 10th, 2005. The first time I really saw Colt Brennan with my first in life, in real life person. I don't know why it's taking me so long to say that I see him play live for the first time, but that's what I mean. I was very sentimental. It was Michigan State. I was in college in the East Coast and stayed with a friend in Michigan, and we got tickets, and It was amazing. I mean, we lost like 42-14, and we had a few penalties as well, crazy stuff, but it was still cool. And we were wearing those silver jerseys, which nobody could see from the press box, and they talked about. So that's the only time we wore those jerseys, I believe. That was the only one game where it was like silver on white. But I sat next to Colt's dad, and Colt started that game, and I don't know if people remember, but Colt would throw up. Like he'd be like so nervous that he would like throw up, and then he would play, and he would do that like on the field. But Colt threw up and went in that game, and changed the course of UH football history. And the 2005 season was really pivotal. And even though that was not, I don't even think it was a winning season. That was a season where there was some transition coming from the Timmy Chang, Nick Rolovich era, and rolling into Colt Brennan and this new collection of quarterback talent, which we seem to always have, and we even stockpile at UH. But Colt was different. He stood apart. It was his hair, it was his perseverance, it was his character. It's like he had all of the elements, and he was a rock star. He was our rock star, and he was humble, and he loved us back. And that was something that we'll always remember about Colt Brennan, was his ability to recognize our love for him and to make us feel that same love back, because that's what we want of our sports heroes. We don't want them to just be like these mythical figures that we never get to talk to or touch, but we really look at them as human beings. And Colt was that. He was all of those things. Was he a Greek tragedy? Was his story? Maybe you could make that argument, but that's only because we saw all of his humanity. And once you reach a certain level, people know this in life, once you reach a certain status, it's hard. The camera will always want to find you, and the media will always want to create a narrative around you, because it might mean more eyeballs, it might be selling more papers or ad space. And Colt Brennan was one of those guys that was an easy target sometimes because of the arrest, because of some of those other things. And I only say those things because he was open about them. He's not going to run away from that. I don't think we should fixate on any of those things. Absolutely not. But Colt wasn't a guy that would run away from that. And he came on the show and was open, and it was amazing to see his openness and willingness. And I'm so grateful for that chance to be able to talk to him and spend that hour and such. And he wanted to keep going. I mean, he could have kept going for hours, and part of me wishes I did. Like I felt bad, almost like I want to bring him back on again. And you might not get that chance, so maybe you should take it when you get it. And that's something that's a lesson for all of us, is we never know when we'll get another chance again. We'll never know when we're going to get another chance in life. We'll never know we're going to get another chance with our family, with our friends, with the people that we might see every day, with the people that we only see so often. Losing Colt Brennan at the age of 37 resonates with me because I'm 38. Well, I was just turned 38. I was born the same year as Colt Brennan, and it's crazy when you see somebody your age die, and especially way too young. I mean, I'm still growing up. I'm still a kid. I'm still learning, and I'm still growing, and I'm still, gaining more and more passion for this team and its history. And, I see a future for this program that might be a little bit rocky for sure, but that's only going to require more and more of those out there who are true supporters of this team to step up their game and come out, support, and hopefully, I hope we get a rocking stadium, which I would hope so for the fall, given that the stadium is now capacity is shrunken. It looks like we're gonna have fans in all the games. I know the Chiefs also announced today. Today was the NFL schedule release, which is a big day. We were gonna talk about that. Also talk about UH volleyball and that great trip, and I'm gonna start talking about those things again. Thanks for all of those who have been following my coverage from Ohio, from Columbus. I'm going to cover UH men's volleyball winning a national championship, and it was amazing to be up there. And, it's hard to have that, come back as well, that comeback down to earth with the news of Colt. But I know that he left a remarkable legacy. He left highlights. He left words. Please check out that interview with him that I did last year with him. I'll make sure to link it. I'll put it on the YouTube as well, and on the Hawaii Sports Fans channel, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your playlists, wherever your podcasts. Go find us. Please like us. Mahalo to everybody that joined our program today. Shane Agno, Sean Eyman, Russ Cannon, Ryan Siu, Dara Young, Justin Baptiste. I think I got all of them, all huge UH fans, and I'm going to continue to reach out. So if you want to ever be a part of our show, let us know. We're going to keep going along with our tours as well. Please check out our UCLA tour. It's starting to fill up. That tour is now going to will also include a Dodgers game and home run seats, Yankees versus Angels, and a game at SoFi Stadium, which is going to be amazing. A preseason game, but still to be in that stadium, the world's greatest stadium. Very exciting today to have all the NFL games out, and I still have to go back and dissect all of them, but it's like Christmas every time we can fill out all of those spots on the calendar. But thank you all for joining. Mahalo for sharing your memories of Colt. Mahalo for joining us in the comments. Jenny as well. It was a great interview that you did with Colt. So glad you had that chance. Mahalo, Jenny. I'm grateful I had that chance. And thank you all for just being here tonight. We'll talk to you again. Aloha.